shame for a man to never experience the beauty and strength with which his body is capable of.
Habibi, before you enjoy this video, do your boy a solid. I've got a goal to hit 7,500 subscribers by the end of June. So like the video and subscribe the channel.
I'm 32 years old now, okay? And I never forget watching a Kevin Samuels video about a year ago, where he mentioned that the light bulb inside the mind of a man doesn't switch on until he hits 30. And I don't know if it was a coincidence. I don't know if it is a general rule. I don't even know if there's any type of science or theory behind it. But I can tell you for myself, the light bulb in my head switched on at 29 3/4 years old. And what do I mean by that? It can be summarized in one sentence, and that is, you begin to realize the shortness of life. You begin to realize the shortness of life. I've ticked off quite a few boxes with regards to life goals, alhamdulillah, from quite a young age. But time is the fire in which we all burn. Everyone's burning in that fire called time. Let me tell you what I mean. Somebody asked me today, am I going to compete in strongman again or in powerlifting? I said to them, no, I'm most probably not going to compete in strongman for a good few years now. If I even compete again at all. But I am going to step into the octagon, inshallah ta'ala. And he said to me, okay, how come? Like, what's the motivation behind that? And I said to him, you get to 30 years old and you are now standing on top of the mountain with respect to your physical prime. You are now in your physical prime. 32, 33, 34, there or thereabouts is around your physical prime. What does that mean? If that is the age of your prime, what comes after the prime? The decline. You see, my whole life leading up until now, age of 32, going on 33 in a couple months' time, I've been climbing the mountain. Climbing. Couldn't see the peak. Constantly looking forward to the future of what is next year's version of Mahdi going to look like, purely from a physical perspective. Okay, I'm not talking about psychological or wisdom or anything like this. And I understand that with the loss of physical strength, it is replaced with wisdom. I get that. But there is something quite tragic about it. There is something quite sad, subhanallah, when you begin to lose your physical powers. And I haven't got there yet, but I am well aware and cognizant that I am pretty much at the top of the mountain now. And I'm speaking to you, young men, because the majority of you guys who watch me are young men. And there's a famous quote by Socrates to the effect of, I put it on my story a few months ago, or a couple months ago, that it is a shame for a man to enter his physical prime whilst in his youth and to never experience the beauty and strength of which his body is capable of. It's a shame for a man to never experience the beauty and strength with which his body is capable of. And as I sit atop the top of this mountain now, and again, I'm referring specifically to physical strength, okay? You never heard of a 50-year-old UFC champion. I'm sorry. It's true there are a few 50-year-old strongman competitors, and there's something about strength that takes time to mature, so you can compete into your later years, but generally speaking, they ain't winning nothing. They're competing, and they're still apex fallacies. They're one-offs. Mark Felix springs to mind. But they're exceptions. Generally speaking, your physical prime for most sports is between your 20s and 30s. Typically 25 to 35. 25 to 35. Physical prime. Swimming is slightly earlier. You'll see athletes in swimming hitting their prime at around 19, 20, 21. Gymnastics as well. Diving, those types of sports. I don't know why, it just is. Maybe something to do with the suppleness required, I'm not sure. And typically sports that require more strength, they tend to reach their peak slightly later on. But generally speaking, 25 to 35 is your prime. And I never forget this one statement that somebody shared with me last year. And when he shared it with me, he completely changed my perspective with regards to time. And I'm going to share it with you now, and I hope I change your perspective as well. And he said to me, Mahdi, this gentleman was 30 years old. Big YouTuber. I'm not gonna say who his name was, but big YouTuber online. We met up, we had dinner. And he said to me, your life goals need to be accomplished on a timeline. And you have a specific, and I'm paraphrasing what he said, you have a specific period of time for which you can complete each goal until that train passes. You know how we talk about all the time how when women are in their prime between 18 and 23 or 24 or whatever, and then once that ship sails, it sails, and we like to harp on about that, right? Guess what, gentlemen? We have the same timer. We are on the same timer. That our life goals must be accomplished during a specific tight period of time. And if you don't accomplish them, that train passes. That ship has sailed. And with respect now to goals that require physical exertion, whether it's through fitness or strength, this is what I am referring to. You have a protracted period of time with which you can enjoy the youth of your body, the strength of your body, the athleticism, the recovery, that feeling of strength and fitness and health. You have a protracted period of time to enjoy that. Don't waste it. Don't throw it away. It's something to be savored, something you can taste it. And yet the tragedy is that you know that that feeling, that flavor is soon to leave. And maybe that's what makes it so beautiful. Maybe it's because you've only got a short period of time to enjoy it that it makes it all the more beautiful. That's not to say you can't be fit and healthy in your older age. Of course you can. You see these 60-year-old guys and 70-year-old guys doing, what do you call it? Not parkour. You know the stuff they do on the bars? I forget the name of what they call it. You know, all of the different tricks they do on bars. That's amazing. But the 70-year-old guy, despite how fit he might be and how amazing he is for his age, he's still not what his 30-year-old self was, or his 25-year-old self. Calisthenics, that's the one. Thank you guys, calisthenics. So you have a protracted period of time to enjoy that. You have a short period of time to enjoy that health. Most of you are around 18 to 25 according to my, my statistic things. If you want to enjoy your physical prime once you hit your 30s, specifically your early 30s, you need to put in the work now in your teens and 20s. And that could be said for anything for that matter, right? And the reverse is also true. If you smoke for a day, you're not going to get cancer. If you smoke for a year, you're not going to get cancer. If you smoke for 10 years, you are most probably not going to get cancer. If you smoke for 15 years, 20 years, you're probably not going to get cancer. 25 years, 30 years, now you start seeing the effects of that smoking. And even if you were to quit, you've created such momentum, negative momentum, from the years and decades of smoking, that even if you quit, it's going to take time for you to undo that damage. But the reverse is also true. If you put in that work, specifically on your body I'm talking now, okay? You can take this principle to your mind and to your work and to your business and to all sorts. I'm talking specifically with regards to your body. If you put in that work whilst you're young, you will begin to reap the benefits when you get older. I'm 32. Let me tell you something. At 32 years old, already I've noticed my recovery is slower. What am I referring to? Back in the winter, I hurt my thumb. I was climbing down this ladder and the momentum slid my hand down and I didn't see a ledge. And I literally smashed my thumb into this ledge. at full speed. It was very painful. I thought I had broke it. It turns out I hadn't broke it, but it was just very badly injured. So it wasn't broken. Maybe it was sprained or whatever. Couldn't move it for a few months. To this day, I don't have full mobility in this thumb. And that's 7 months later. 7 months later, it still hasn't fully healed. 3 months ago, my 15-year-old son, he completely tore his hand open. He punched his hand through a window, and then his knee-jerk response was to pull his hand back out. And as he pulled the hand back out, he literally sliced the tendons inside his hand. And he lost movement to 2 or 3 of his digits. It cut the tendons to his thumb and 2 of his digits here. It was a mess. If I could show you the photo on this live, I would. I can't bring up photos here. I don't know how to do that. I don't think you can. It was a complete mess. He had to go in for, I don't know if it was considered major surgery, but it was in one of the specialist hospitals in London to reattach the tendons in his thumb and fingers. 8 weeks later, he was grappling. He was wrestling and grappling with me. Allahumma barik lahu. 8 weeks. Meanwhile, the old man out here with his busted out thumb, I'm still struggling to recover with my thumb, whilst my diet is on point and my recovery is on point and my training is on point. Still struggling. Youth. And whilst I'm still relatively young, even within the term young, there's degrees and levels. There's very young, there's prime, there's not so young, and then there's mature, and on and on. And I say this not to lament the loss of your physical vigor and health. I say it not to lament that, but rather you should lament it if you did not take advantage of it and appreciate it and use it and compete with it. Yes, compete. Competition gives you fire in your belly for training. It's one thing training for a particular look, you want to look a certain way, that's all well and good. And for some people that can be motivation enough. In fact, for many years, for me, that was motivation. I didn't compete in any sport for many years, maybe close to 10 years? Yeah, around 10 years. 10 years solid. Between 17 and 27, I didn't compete in any sports. I started competing again at 27. Just because I was addicted to training by that point. My father had put me through training my whole life, so it just became part of me. But for a lot of people, they need that competition. Have you seen Amir Khan when he's not in camp? I know he's retired now, but when he's not in a training camp, he lets himself go. He gets a bit overweight, and he says it. He says, I don't have a motivation to train. Some people are like that. The only thing that keeps them motivated to train is competition. So sign up to a competition. Compete in something. I don't know what. I've competed in karate. I got my black belt in karate when I was younger, in my teens. I've competed in swimming to a relatively high level, nothing major. Competed to regional level, which is, if you were to compare it to the average dude swimming, you'd think, wow, this guy's a shock. But in the competitive world of swimming, this is literally nothing. Regional swimming is just nothing. It's nothing at all. You're a nobody. Competed in rugby, and then obviously I competed in powerlifting and strongman. And now the last, what I think will be the last anyway, the last thing I want to tick off my bucket list is to step into the octagon. A couple of times, I don't know how many times, just so that I can say I did it. I don't want to become a pro fighter. I don't have aspirations of winning anything at all. Partly because I know that ship has sailed. It's too late for me. These guys have been competing since they were like 5 years old. Training and competing since they were 5. So that ship has sailed, which is fine. I'm okay with that. I've done other things when I was younger. But I definitely want to compete. I want to try. I want to taste it. I want to know, how do I respond after I've gotten beaten up and punched up and I'm exhausted and I'm tired and the guy's got his knee on my belly and I can barely breathe. How will I respond? I don't know. That's an unknown quantity to me. That scares me, actually. And I say that with a smile, but it scares me. And that's what excites me. Because I want to find out. I train hard, but you know what? It's all well and good training hard when the equipment's nice and dry and the weather's perfect and nobody's disturbing you. And certainly no one's punching you in the face. Everything's on point. point. All you've got to do is exert yourself. That's easy. That's just a case of you against you. But what about when there's external factors involved? What about when you have a nasty trip and roll your ankle like I did the other day? And now suddenly you've got to fight whilst your ankle's busted up and your nose is bleeding and your arm's gone and you're exhausted. And like I say, the guy's on top of you, his knee's on your belly and it's wet and it's slippy. And all of the moves that worked in training so beautifully suddenly don't work anymore because you're slick with sweat. How will you react? I don't know. I don't know. And I want to find out. So I speak to you young men now. Some of you, many of you, most of you who are watching this right now, you're young. You're very young. You're either in your teens or you're in your 20s somewhere. The vast majority of you who follow me are not in their 30s. Never mind 40s and 50s. Are you going to take advantage of this gift you have been given? You might be broke right now. You might not have any money, you might not have things going for you in your personal life or relationships, but guess what you do have? Your physical health, your strength. To varying degrees, I understand some people have ailments, disabilities, sickness, disease of some sort. But you have it to a point. And whatever you have right now, trust and believe that you are in your prime or you are approaching your prime. And I can tell you, as someone who is now at the top of the mountain, I'm 32 years old, this is it for me. This is it. It doesn't get much better. Can I improve? Of course I can improve. And I will improve, inshallah ta'ala. I'm simply saying, I ain't getting any younger. And this really starts to weigh heavily on you as you get older. You really start to realize that it's like, man, I'm not actually getting younger anymore. Man's getting older, bruv. And this has become all the more pronounced since I have now seen my own sons entering manhood, becoming young men themselves. And I'm seeing how, like one of my sons, he really puts a pace on me. Very soon, he is going to start beating me on a number of fitness-related activities or tasks. Strength, obviously, he's still got a long way to go. He's only 14, but he's got plenty of time to catch up with that. But fitness-wise, he's putting me to task. I was training them the other day, track, multiple 400-meter sprints, and then multiple 100-meter sprints. And then after that, we finished that with some sit-ups. And I said to the boys, if you do 100 sit-ups in a row, this is really good. I had him and his brother, the 14-year-old and the 15-year-old. I said, if you can do 100 sit-ups in a row, this is good. You've done well. He ended up busting out. One of them did 130 in a row. The other one did 200 in a row. 201 actually. And he wasn't even breaking a sweat. It wasn't even hard for him. And he only stopped because he got bored. He said to me, Baba, this is long. Like, can you give me a weight or something? It's just taking forever. And it's true, it takes long. And they are making me realize that I'm getting older, as are we all. And that if you have specific goals that you wish to accomplish related to your health and fitness, then you need to do that now. And the higher up the hierarchy you want to compete, the longer the runway you are going to need to get to that level. If you want to compete at just an amateur level, you don't need that much time. If you want to compete at a professional level, you're going to need a minimum of 10 years. Minimum, 10 years. 10-year rule. 4 hours, the 10,000 hour rule, you guys probably heard of it. 4 hours a day, 7 days a week, for 10 years is 10,000 hours. Something like that. So the loftier your aspirations are, the more time you will need to actually enjoy that or get to that level. For those of you who are UFC fans, you might have seen the Jiri Prohaska fight last night with Glover Teixeira. Jiri Prohaska has been on the circuit, on the fight circuit, for over a decade. Me and you are just hearing about him now. Why? Because it took him 10 years to get to this level. He's 29 years old. Now he is about to enter his prime. In fact, he is. Between the ages of 29 and 34, that short 5-year period, that's a fighter's prime years. And Glover Teixeira is a complete anomaly. Massive respect to him. 42 years old, light heavyweight champion of the world, unheard of. But it's unheard of for a reason. Because you're in your physical prime when you're much younger than that. In fact, Prohaska made a whole bunch of mistakes in this fight last night and still won. Probably by virtue of his youth and ability to just keep on going. He can just keep on going because he's just younger. Maybe that's an oversimplification on my part, and that might even be slightly disrespectful to a Glover to share. Point is this. You're in your peak, your prime between the ages of 29 to 34. Do something with it, guys. Do something with it. Don't waste it. And whenever I hear someone say, I'm fitter now at 50 than I was at 30, all that tells me is that you are a lazy bum when you were 30. That's it. If anyone says to me, I am fitter and healthier and stronger at 50 than I was at 30 or 40, I know that that person just didn't train much when he was in his 20s, 30s and 40s. And he's just started training now, and now he's in the shape of his life. Of course, you're in the shape of your life. Your baseline was so low. And that's fine. That's good, in fact. I'm not putting that person down. I'm happy that he's taken up exercise and physical activity. I'm just saying this. Your prime, 20s and 30s. Don't waste it. Don't waste it. Bismillah. Alright, guys. That's me done. GSP. Now, did he say that? I don't know if GSP says that, Hassan. I know GSP said he's not competing after 40. I know that much. GSP is done out here. GSP doesn't need to carry on. GSP is GSP. Alright, guys. Yallah. Take care. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.